She gave herself to a bum in the hope of having a child, and when she took a DNA test, she was shocked to find out who the father was. Alice turned off her work computer and looked at her watch. It was almost 8 in the evening, and she did not want to go home at all. There was a burning desire to get back to work, to sit here until midnight and go home when her husband would sleep. But remembering that she had done this once before and then strongly regretted it, she got to sleep only about 3 o'clock in the morning. She had to wake up at 6 o'clock, and the next day she felt like a wreck, unable to get any work done. There was another option of not going home, to go to her parents' house for the night. But even there the questions would begin. Why are you here? What happened? What did Alex do to you? No, those were questions she did not want to answer. In any case, then follow the moralizing from the wise and live together happily long parents who know this life better than their stupid and inexperienced daughter. Alice touched the photo frame next to the computer monitor. In the photo, she and her husband were looking at each other with smiles on their faces. It was the wedding day that seemed magical to Alice, the happiest and most promising day of her life. How many years had it been since that day? Only 5? And it feels like decades of life together with Alex behind her. There's also a slowly growing mountain of mutual misunderstanding, recriminations, arguments, examinations, and recriminations and arguments again. On the phone came a message from a friend. "Let's go to a cafe. I have news." Alice sighed, thinking about what news Emily might have for her. Probably a new car, given to her by her married suitor, or maybe news about a new rich and married suitor who could now give not only a car, but also an apartment. Nevertheless, Alice accepted her friend's offer. She just terribly did not want to go back to Alex, to an empty, filled with cold silence, complete ignoring of each other. And silence was probably worse than fighting and shouting. It hurts worse than breaking expensive dishes and insults hurled at each other. This was not the life the smiling bride had dreamed of 5 years ago. Alice got in the car. It took her about 40 minutes to get to the cafe without any traffic. Of course, all the normal people who finished work at 6 p.m. had long been home, and only such lonely, unwanted ladies were wandering around the city, looking for reasons not to go home. Emily was already sitting in the cafe, and Alice noticed her car near the entrance. So it's not about the new car. It's about something else. Emily waved her hand and shouted the name, which made Alice cringe. Sometimes she was terribly annoyed by her friend's excessive emotionality, though her suitors probably liked that very zest in her. After all, it was often confused with passion, brightness, crazy, and memorable relationships. "Sit down, my friend. I already ordered you a cappuccino and eclairs, just the way you like it." "Thank you, darling. I'll drink coffee, but eating sweets at 9 o'clock at night is too much," responded Alice. "Your figure is not spoiled," snorted her friend, all her life jealous of slimness Alice, while Emily herself is forever experimenting with diets and starvation and fitness training. "Eat, come on. Sweets lift your spirits." "What makes you think I'm in a bad mood?" "Yes, I can see by your face, sour as a lemon," Emily responded, sipping coffee from the cup. "And what am I going to tell you now will not improve it." Alice shrugged, and the waiter took her order. The cappuccino was delicious, and Alice felt a little better. What was Emily's news? "Well, then tell me, why did you bring me to the cafe in the middle of the work week?" Emily looked intently at Alice and silently turned away, looking out the window. "Emily, I do not like your behavior." Alice felt that the news that she wanted to tell her friend was not pleasant. "Well, my friend, the other day I saw your Alex with another woman." Alice pushed aside her cup of coffee, now also looked out the window. She shrugged. "So, it's a crime to see a man in the company of a woman?" "If only it were that simple, Alice. They weren't just driving together or walking down the street. They weren't even sitting in a cafe. They were kissing on a park bench, and they were doing it quite passionately, and for a long time. He didn't even notice me. so oblivious to the sensations. Alice bit her lip. What news? Her husband making out in the park with another woman, where 100 of familiar eyes can see him. Apparently there's quite a serious relationship there, if Alex allows himself to do such a thing. He is quite reserved in his own right, and it is almost unreal to ask him to show any tenderness or caresses in front of people. The coffee seemed tasteless, and the eclair made her nauseous. Thanks for the information, dear, Alice said, trying to keep her voice from trembling, though she was trembling with resentment and rage inside. I guess this is the logical conclusion to our not very pleasant relationship. Things haven't been going well for you a long time, have they? Emily responded, putting her hand on her friend's arm in a show of support. He just acted like a common wimp, found an outlet not to solve family problems. Emily, our problems are not solvable, in principle. You know that our marriage was doomed from the day the doctor announced Alex's diagnosis. But many families don't have children. Emily stood up for Alex. I'm not even sure I want to have kids. That's your opinion, and I'm sure that I want children. You're obsessing over it, and you're obsessing over your man. That's why he's trying to somehow rehabilitate himself in the eyes of other women as a man. Emily's words sounded like an excuse for Alice's husband, caught by this same friend in an unambiguous situation. Somehow everything turns again toward the fact that everything is Alice's own fault. How tired she is of living with this perpetual sense that she is bad and Alex is good. He who promised her a large family, proposing even though he already knew that he could not have children, and then had an affair on the side? He's the good one? Alice is the bad one? Stop making excuses for him. I'm tired of living with an angel in the flesh and being a creature in the eyes of others. And I hurt him, and I don't appreciate him. So all negative, and he's just a perfect man. Alice got up from the table and picked up her purse. Will you tell him? Emily asked. I don't know yet. I need to think. It takes me about 30 minutes to get home. During this time, I'll come to my senses and solve everything. I'll pay the bill. You can go. Emily was sympathetic to the words of her friend. The main thing is not to make hasty decisions. They usually turn out to be a mistake. Alice said nothing, nodded silently, and left the cafe. Behind the wheel, she lowered her head and thought. She felt no desire to cry. Probably somewhere inside her, she even felt a sense of relief that everything had been solved like that. Weak, spineless Alex could not admit to her that he was having an affair on the side. After all, they'd been living in a state of war for a year now, which bored both of them, and he had such a chance to make things right with just one confession. Alice started the car and drove down the dark streets. She remembered how she had met Alex, how he'd courted her, how glad she was to have met a man who understood her half-heartedly. It had been more than 7 years since they had met. Then Alice was a young, energetic, and confident career woman of 25, strictly following her plan. Make a career first, and then think about family. She was confident that the plan would come to fruition. She brushed off all men, just taking advantage of them and realizing that it was too soon to get married. First, she had to get to the position of manager, or at least to the position of deputy manager of a huge hotel complex, generating enormous revenues. But then Alex came into her life. He was the simplest, no different from any other man. He simply made Alice lose her head from his words and actions. He was the one who brought her lunches when she was working in time-out mode. He was the one who took her to Bali for New Year's Eve when she got off work and complained about how much she didn't want to celebrate New Year's at home. And he also promised her that they would have a big and strong family, which would get bigger and bigger every year. I'm just crazy about having a big family, Alice confessed to him. My parents have lived happily for more than 40 years. They have 3 children, 2 grandchildren, and looking at them, I see exactly the ideal family that I need. And what of your career? Alex laughed. The hell with it. I got to the position of head of foreign guest services. That's enough. I want peace, not work in the mode of running around the clock in a squirrel's wheel." Then Alex proposed to Alice, and she immediately accepted, because only with him suddenly felt really happy and a real woman. "Just let's wait with children for a couple of years," said Alex when Alex gave her a ring. "I'll still make another attempt to achieve a more managerial position." Alex then laughed for 5 minutes, and Alice looked at him incomprehensively, struggling with his own laughter. "You are incorrigible. So into, finally uttered Alex. 2 years later, when Alice was already a deputy manager, she, as required by her plan, turned to her husband with a reminder that it is time to have children. Even then, she noticed a glimpse of her husband's face, a look of either panic or fright, but she thought it was a standard male reaction to serious events in a man's life. Attempts to get pregnant lasted a year, after which Alice's doctor recommended that both spouses be examined. Alex objected, but Alice was unbreakable. "Either we get a checkup or we stop trying and end up getting divorced." Alex humbly passed the examination, and the results stunned Alice. The doctor, who was looking at the results of the tests of both spouses, shook his head, bit his lip, and sighed, which led Alice only to think that all is lost. "On the female side, all is fine, Alice. You're a healthy, fertile lady, which is at the peak of its fertility. And here, Alex." Alice looked at her husband, who was sitting next to her with a green face. He looked like a wax figure from a museum, because both the color of his face and his stillness said only that her husband was preparing to hear the terrible truth. "Your cells are motionless. That is, the probability that your wife could get pregnant from you is roughly 0. As you can see, there's practically no chance. So I suggest you consider the options of pregnancy through IVF or the option of adopting a child." Alice went cold. Her husband, with whom they wanted to have at least 3 children, could not have them in principle. When they walked out of the doctor's office and their exit was done in utter silence, Alice, for some reason, turned to her husband with a question. "You were married before me, and you didn't have children either. You did not care about that?" Alex indefinitely shrugged his shoulders. "Not really. We were young and did not want to have children." "And why did you divorce?" Alice asked for the first time in many years of knowing Alex. Never once had she dared to ask her husband about it, considering it a personal question that did not require her attention, because she had found someone else. But this answer did not satisfy Alice. She found Alex's ex-wife in social media, who had been living in another country with her foreign husband for several years and had 2 children. Lily, which was the name of Alex's first wife, did not take long to answer. Neither did Alice herself, who, after a greeting and a few polite words, asked what the reason for their separation was. In fact, Lily left Alex for another man, but not because she was bad, not because she betrayed or cheated, but because her husband was infertile, and Alex had known this since the very first time he was married, that is, for more than 10 years. His promise to Alice of a large, strong family was nothing more than an empty phrase, just a throwaway phrase with no meaning whatsoever. Since then, Alice's attitude towards her husband had changed. She saw him as a real traitor, though she did not tell him about it, as did not talk about the fact that she communicated with his ex-wife and learned the truth about his infertility without his knowledge. Inside herself, Alice felt the dirt and blackness that had built up toward her loving and beloved husband over the years that followed. And now, sitting in the car, outside the house where Alex was waiting for her, or maybe not waiting at all, Alice made the decision that it was time for a real separation. Alice entered the apartment and saw her husband sitting in the living room in front of the TV. He was silent. So was she. And this game of silence had been going on for days since their last quarrel. In general, All the quarrels lately were silly and far-fetched. Their causes were the stupidest, trivial things that led to the same result: clarification of relationships that had reached a dead end. But today, Alice broke the silence. "I went out with Emily today." Alex turned his gaze to his wife and looked at her in surprise. In his eyes read the question: is this a reason to break the proud silence? A meeting with a friend? Alex was silent, and Alice continued. "She saw you with another woman in the park. You kissed her passionately, letting everyone around you know that she is the limit of your dreams. What do you have to say to that?" Alex turned off the television and got up from the couch. "Probably that I'm leaving. That's what you've brought the conversation up to, right? Like all of our last conversations, ending the same way." Alice nodded, gritting her teeth. Alex didn't even try to justify himself or explain himself. He just went to pack his things. That evening he left, and Alice did not ask where he was going or for how long. She just saw her husband off and closed the door behind him. It was only after he left that she let the tears flow. The first to know that Alex had left home were Alice's parents. She came to them the first weekend and listened to her mother's lectures for a long time. "It was your choice, your man. It's not Alex's fault that he can't have children. It's genetics, nature. What can you do?" "Mom, but he could have told me this before he proposed to me. I told him explicitly that I wanted kids. He nodded and promised he would." "He loves you. That's why he's trying to keep what you're destroying. You should have tried IVF. I know tons of people who have had babies this way. You're not the only unfortunate childless one. You're not even 40 years old yet, and you're whining like a teenager." "Mom, what does this have to do with IVF? He cheated on me. He betrayed me. That's it. The matter is closed." Her mother was silent, and so was her father, who pretended to read the newspaper. Alice came to the conclusion that she was left without a husband and the possibility to have a baby. But the age of approaching 40, if she tried donor cells, if she tried IVF, it would take a long time. Alice felt so alone, so abandoned, so needy. "Get pregnant for yourself," Emily suggested. "Otherwise, your constant thinking will drive you crazy. Find a man and just get pregnant." Alice's eyes widened. "Well, where would I find you such a man, ready to make me children?" "Let's go to the club on the weekend. There are a lot of people who want a quick and non-committal connection." "But it's dangerous to my health," Alice denied, though she had already made up her mind inside that she had to try. She had no time to build a new family, to persuade a new husband who might be infertile again. The next weekend, Alice was at a club with Emily. Her gaze fell on the young man devouring her with his eyes. A couple of cocktails, then a dance, and a few hours later, the stranger was at Alice's house. Waking up in the morning with a terrible headache, Alice turned her gaze to the young man lying next to her. "What's your name?" Alex asked, wrinkling her head with a nagging pain. "Louis, can I stay with you?" the boy responded cheerfully. Alice looked at him. Yesterday in the nightclub he seemed older, and now he looked no more than 20. "What is it? Is this a hotel or something? Actually, how old are you?" The guy wearing underwear continued to smile cheerfully. "I'm 22, and you must be about 40? Alice threw a pillow at him. "Get out of my house!" The guy threw up his hands. "I have nowhere to go. I don't have a home. My parents threw me out on the street a week ago, so I'm hanging around chicks' houses." Alice threw the second pillow at him. "I'm not your chick, you miserable bum." "You were so good yesterday. I thought you were normal." Louis twiddled his fingers at his temple. "And you're crazy. You must be going through menopause." Alice, who found no more pillows on the bed, grabbed the statuette in her hand to throw it at Louis for his hurtful words. But he quickly skipped out of the room, and a couple of minutes later, the front door slammed. Alice felt broken. She grabbed her head, thinking about what a mistake she had made. Grudging herself for such stupidity, she was angry and wanted to take her anger out on someone else. So she dialed Alex's number. When are you going to pick up the rest of your things? They're bothering me. Come on, I'm coming in a couple of days and take everything out. Let's do it tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll pack it all up and throw it off the balcony myself. Okay, Alex answered and hung up. Alice was angry at herself, realizing that she had violated not only her life plan, but all the boundaries of decency. She was depressed at the thought that now she was sleeping with unknown men in an attempt to get pregnant, while Alex had arranged his life well. He arrived the next day, dry and businesslike. Alice felt a longing growing in her heart. She did not want to admit to herself that she did not want him to leave. You live with your mistress? She asked. No, I live with my mother. It's strange she hasn't called me. She doesn't know that we broke up. I told her we had a fight. So you're lying to your mother, too? Alice, don't start. Enough. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you yelling. I'm tired of you reproaching me. I'm just tired of you. Let me go in peace. Alice approached her husband. Do not even kiss me goodbye? And Alex kissed. Alex begged for a farewell night as well. In the morning he left, taking his things. Alice was left alone in a half-empty apartment, and 2 weeks later, a pregnancy test showed 2 stripes. Looking at them, Alice, for some reason, had no feeling of joy or satisfaction. She was in a panic because she realized that she had achieved what she wanted. Did she want to get it this way? Who's the father? Asked Emily, who immediately came to Alice to see for herself the 2 stripes on the test. Some bum from the club. Why a bum? Bums don't go to clubs. Because he said his parents kicked him out, so he sleeps over at one girl's and another one's. Oh, it's Louis, the migratory bird. Yeah, he called himself Louis and said I was going through menopause. Emily laughed. He's always making fun of girls. He takes girls out for drinks, sleeps over. Somebody pays him money for that. In short, he has as much fun as he can. His parents live in the country, and here he rents a room from an acquaintance of mine. While he's young and handsome, he takes advantage of it. How low I fell. Alice sighed, causing a new laugh from her friend. But you will have a long-awaited child. Will you tell that to Louis? Alice waved her hands. No, no way. I myself will give birth and raise. Men from now on have no place in my life. Alice's parents were sympathetic to her pregnancy because she said she had underwent IVF. Her mother lamented that Alice would have to raise the child alone. Alex would have been a wonderful father. Mom, let's close the subject and not return to it, said Alice firmly. With Alex they saw only in the registry office when they picked up the certificate of dissolution of marriage. Alice was by then on the 4th month of pregnancy, so she wore a wide dress that her ex-husband did not notice her situation. It's that simple? He asked, looking at Alice. What's complicated? Instead of an answer, she asked. It should have been done long ago. I'm sorry I have to go. Do you live with someone? He asked. Alex, I'm sorry, but it's none of your business. Saying these words, Alice felt guilty, and again this feeling of guilt towards Alex made her sob. Her mother was right. How good it would be if he could be the father of this baby. As time went on, the due date approached. Alice was shopping for clothes for her daughter-to-be. She had found out a couple of months before that she was going to have a girl, but she hesitated to start shopping. And now that time was running out. She rushed the store, sweeping clothes and important things off the shelves on a list. In the hustle and bustle of things, without noticing it, she bumped into Louis. He was walking through the mall with some lady, either his mother or another victim of an Alphonse. When he saw Alice, he frowned, and then the wrinkles on his forehead smoothed. He remembered the crazy 40-year-old lady on the verge of menopause who threw at him everything in sight. Taking advantage of the fact that his companion had entered the store, he walked over to the nearby Alice, silently watching them. Hello, I see the menopause has not yet come, but the pregnancy has come. Alice wanted to hit the guy again, but she restrained herself. As you can see, aren't you afraid that the baby is yours?" Alice said these words as if playing with the little boy and teasing him. Louis couldn't even think that Alice's daughter was his daughter, too. "No, I'm not afraid. I always use protection, and with older women, too. You never know what kind of disease can catch." Alice paled lightly. "Always? Always?" "Of course. It's my principle. Sorry, my madam is coming." Louis left with his lady. Alice was left standing there with the bags in her hands, and not understanding how this could have happened. One of them took precautions. The other cannot have children. Who had gotten her pregnant? Sharing the information with her friend, she got Emily's confident answer. "Call Alex and tell him everything. He must know the truth." "Emily, even I do not know the truth. What can I tell him? For sure he has been living his own life for a long time, and he doesn't care about me. He lives with his mother and did not go to anyone." Emily answered these words, made Alice feel a special warmth inside. Alex found out about his ex-wife's pregnancy exactly 2 days before the baby was born. Alice gave birth to a healthy baby girl, whom she named Mary. Her ex-husband, when he found out what happened during their divorce, didn't hesitate to agree to a DNA test. He visited Alice every day until the results came back and helped with the baby. He walked with him while Alice did chores or just slept. Alice needed these visits from Alex like air, and for some reason, she did not care at all what the test would show, because she had already made up her mind that she was going to stay with Alex. But anyway, when she received the cherished paper with the result, Alice's hands trembled. She opened the result and did not immediately understand what it said. "With a probability of 99.9%. Alex, I don't understand very well. What does it say?" "It says I'm the father of the child." "But how could this happen?" shocked Alice asked. "The doctors said a 100% chance that you are infertile." "As you can see, even the tests are sinful. Even the doctor's words have flaws. And you and I are not a perfect husband and wife. And I'm sure we can just be as imperfect parents to Mary. So it's all ahead of us."